Damage over time is completely overpowered right now. Watch closely on Duriel here. How much damage is just taking away in a couple of seconds. Millions over millions over millions. And this is all with our new Black River Bloodwave combination build that absolutely shreds. Now, after seeing all this damage on Duriel, I was like, what about Uber Lilith? Is this build good for her? And it couldn't be any better. This is phase 1. I mean, look what just happens to her. You blood wave, you blood mist through for some corpses. The Ring of Sacrilegious Souls just auto explodes with a Black River, multiple damage sources, and pff, she's gone. Phase 2 is a bit tricky because you gotta start with blood mist while she ain't actually there, so that you already have some explosions on the ground, and when she spawns, she gets the overload of Shadowblight, wave into her, and flip, you actually skip also all the fire thingies and just roll that try down until the end. In order for this to work, we need particular skills that are very important, but at the same time, the Paragon board shall not be underestimated. It can also be tier 100 dungeons, so that's what's running here on the side for you to enjoy. Important is Supernatural Blight for the 15% increased multiplicative shadow damage on everything. And then we need the Hued Flesh because Black River explodes more corpses and maximum amount of corpses is needed. All the points in Corpse Explosion and Blood Mist with a bonus, Ghastly Blood Mist for the corpses. And also Fueled by Death being perma-triggered by the Ring of Sacrilegious Soul. Damage to close because we're kind of staying close in damage reduction. And then the cooldown reduction so we get our Blood Wave back like crazy. Because yes, we're going to be playing Blood Wave as Shadow Blood Wave to then make maximum Desecrated Ground super damage and lead to even more millions of passive damage. Corpse Terminals are going to make Blood Orbs because that's kind of for free and pretty amazing, and you obviously want all the shadow stack damage happening. Last but not least, damage reduction from sacrificed minions and overall sacrifice bonus, and then the Shadowblight key passive. That is so good right now, and I can't stress this enough. Shadowblight's damage is increased by X 100% of your shadow damage over time bonuses. Get so much shadow damage over time bonuses. This thing can go absolutely bonkers. The same goes for Wither, but more to that in the Paragon section. The key piece here is Black River. Alternatively, you could also play the Bloodless Scream, but then you can't do the double ring combo. Black River gives your corpse explosion another 130% multiplicative damage. You get more ranks in Hued Flesh for more corpses, and also Fueled by Death gets more ranks. And all corpse skills get boosted even further. It is truly amazing and crazy. Now pair this together with Ixfeld's Corroded Signet, and yes, we don't even need this for the damage because most of our damage is the damage over time. But it's just nice to get these procs in between, and Ixfeld's gives you also damage over time bonus, which then makes Shadowblight stronger, and Wither also go crazy. It's just worth it overall to add. Pair this with a Ring of Sacrilegious Souls that you then get the free Corpse Explosions and the free Corpse Terminals that are permanently triggering. And yes, the Corpse Explosions here also trigger Black River kinda and go like more Corpse Explosion. But also it's 3 ranks in Corpse Skills, which hires just the Corpse Explosion multiplier even more. Talking about corpse skills, that's also where your amulet comes in with more ranks into all corpse skills. The Gloom passive or Fueled by Death, for example, you do 180% increased damage for 6 seconds after Shadowblight key passive damages enemies 10 times. And this one happens so fast, especially with a Blood Wave, because we're going to throw a Blood Wave out that is Shadow, and at the same time, the Blood Wave goes out 3 times. And just to give you a basic math, first Blood Wave goes out, then ticks for a second, has 3-second ticks left. Second Blood Wave goes out, and then you have 2 more seconds left on the first and another 4 seconds left on the second. And then the next one would go out, and you still have 1 second left on the first Blood Wave. You notice how the shadow damage is just stacking up, and while you're Blood Waving, they happen automatically, the 3. You can already Corpse Explosion, throw in Blight, and have your Ring of Sacrilegious Soul do the Corpse Explosion automatic as well on top, to then have even more stacking damage that you get these 10 times in no time and continuously. Now I did add the Godslayer crown because I don't need any other helmet, which gives me maximum life bonus and 48% damage multiplicative. The helmet aspect is completely for free. You could technically play the aspect of the explosive mist if you want on top of that. That gives you even more corpse explosion essentially, as you then have a brilliant amount of corpses going on. Feel free to use that if you want to. For the chest, very important, we're looking for total armor percentage bonus. The same actually for the amulet and also shadow damage over time. Here it would be ultimate skill damage for more blood wave damage. Maximum life and damage reduction from distance close, something in that direction. And then disobedience to push our armor high. Right now I'm at 10,000 armor with an elixir goes up to 11.5k. And if I had the high roll on the total armors, I would be over like 12,500 roughly, which is so close to the armor cap without even having disobedience triggered. On the gloves, we're playing the aspect of the ultimate shadows, and here you want a high roll to get the 48,000 damage on desecrated ground damage. And we'll get in the Paragon section why desecrated ground is actually so important, because that is a big trick of this build. Here you want critical strike chance, shadow damage over time, ranks in blight, and potentially dexterity or lucky hit. Both are a good choice. For the pants, we're rocking T-Bolt's Will for the 40% bonus multiplicative damage, but also to then just dash, get the essence, and also be able to spam more blind. It gives you 20% damage plus. That's also quite nice in damage reduction from close. Alternatively, on your pants, you could technically play the aspect of the Embomber and play the cooldown reduction ring for your ultimate skills if you don't have X-Files Corroded Signet and also T-Bolt's Will. Now for the boots, you truly do want Flicker Step because that gives you plus 80% ultimate skill damage, and that already on 45,000 damage base is quite nice. Damage reduction, all stats, movement speed, incredibly important. I'll come to that in the Vampiric Powers, but also dashing reduces the cooldown, and that against Lilith you might have seen, or in Nightmare Dungeons in general, you dash around and you get so much cooldown reduction in your blood wave to continuously be able to spam that and just take out mobs left, right, and center. Book of the Dead for dungeon pushing, I have the plus 20% resistance to all elements on at all times, apart from when I go for the boss fight, and then I just swap it over to the shadow damage, because that is 15% multiplicative shadow damage versus Lilith versus Duriel, else resistance. Then bonus damage against vulnerable, and last but not least, the increased critical strike damage. Now for the Paragon board, we're going for the first one, and that's Amplify. That's more damage against cursed enemies, and that works without stagger, without anything. It's so good. But it also boosts these nodes to be even more efficient, and that willpower is actually not needed. Very interesting. Bringing this up to 107, even 150 when I have this at level 21. Then we're going up into the Scent of Death board for the more damage reduction, or more damage if there's no corpses. And here we also pick up the critical strike damage of X-Files triggers, that it just does more. And then we're playing bonus desecrated ground damage, and that's plus 641% damage to our blood wave. Yes, the blood wave that triggers over time, I just counted for you so many times, that plus. And while standing in your desecrated ground, all my damage is increased by 15%. Everything I do just suddenly, then I dash with T-Bolt's Will, I get another 40% on the 15%, and we can pick up 54 willpower here, which is incredible. Travel that into the Withered board and then take everything Wither related, including all the intelligence for more shadow damage, because everything I do is shadow damage now. Which leads us into Flesh Eater for the 40% multiplier with some more crit damage up here. Yes, some more crit damage up here. But most importantly, also all the intelligence for damage over time. I mean, I get 99% shadow damage over time bonus. Then, with all the intelligence, my shadow damage over time bonus can get bonus damage in general, and my Shadowblight key passive also gets pushed tremendously. Last but not least, the Bone Graft board for more damage while healthy. Technically, we could take the Essence Glyph for more critical strike damage, but realistically, I just hire all my damage rather than only the critical strike damage here, and that's where the Imbiber Glyph just works so damn well. For Vampiric Powers, there's such an incredible one. Anticipation. Ultimate skill gain 20% cooldown reduction, and they deal 12% increased damage for each nearby enemy affected by your damage over time effect, which makes Bloodwave an absolute deadly tool of mass destruction. Follow that up with Ravenous, which gives you bonus attack power that you can spam your Blight Balls faster as you dash with T-Bolt's Will, get the essence, and then pop, spam them out while your corpse explosions are happening automatically. And then overall, also 60% in multiplicative increased damage over time to enemies that are moving or affected by Vampiric Curse. And Vampiric Curse comes with Metamorphosis, which we dash continuously through that we get unstoppable, T-Bolt's Will. And at the same time, we make Vampiric Curse. And then we also have them continuously vulnerable with Prey on the Weak on the Vampiric Curse happening, and 16% multiplicative damage. We don't even have to stagger them for any of our multipliers. Our multipliers are happening all the time at any point. Don't worry, in the next coming days, I'll also have a tier list of all these builds kind of staggered, what their perfectly good for dungeon running, leveling. Can you play it from 1 on? Is it more level 70 plus build? That will come. Until then, check out the Litless Lands, or rather the new enhanced Tempest Storm. Both are equally fantastic.